Hey, Julie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I'm Frasier, and we have Deshaun and Steve around the horn here, and then Catherine Keenan. Is it Catherine Keenan? How's your last
It,
name pronounced, Catherine?
it's actually pronounced Conan.
Conan. Catherine Conan is on a interstate between Bozeman and Missoula in Montana. Um, but we'll give Actually, I'm going to give one more minute. We have a bunch of people who I'm sure will be popping in, but I want to be respectful of our time, and we have a kind of a tight 30 minutes. So we'll give people one more minute, and then we'll start going around. Steve has been yelling at me about making sure we have an agenda and clarity, which is not my specialty. But we will just share what we're looking to accomplish today, and hopefully we get some great ideas.
Sounds good.
Good.
Now, Deshaun, you and me we're both Northern Virginia, right?
Yes, I'm currently in Fairfax County.
Okay, yeah, I am too. I'm up by Germantown Road right now in near Oakton.
Oakton, yep.
And
Near Tyson's.
one of the things I saw was that y'all had scheduled a children's business fair. Maybe it was postponed, but we're going to do one down in Alexandria in December. So I'd love to talk to you about that.
So I'm actually the sponsor. The parent who was coordinating that, their daughter is a completer of our camp program.
Oh, great. All right, so we could definitely talk about that. Oh wait, whoops. Accidentally almost removed somebody.
I wonder who.
Hey, Brian.
Good morning to all. Thank you for having me.
All right, and we're going to get started. I'm going to sort of manage people as they come in, but I'm going to get started with introductions or having people introduce themselves. And the hope here would be, just give your kind of who I am and what organization you're with, and sort of how you plug into the world of youth entrepreneurship. And then if you so my name's I'll just introduce myself first. My name's Frasier O'Leary, and I have been involved with youth entrepreneurship for a long time. I worked with Steve Mariotti's Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship back in 1999, and I created an idea for youth entrepreneurship called Kid Biz, which I've been on and off with for 100 years. One of the things that I am really excited about is connecting with people who are in this space and identifying ways, any opportunities we might have to collaborate, or especially find ways that sort of tools or leverage that can support everybody in whatever mission they're in. I mean, obviously when I was with a nonprofit, we were focused on fundraising, and fundraising is really important, but there's also this other element, which is attracting more kids, attracting more parents, getting more people involved. And if we can do that in a way that doesn't require funds, that's a win, right? So I'll stop talking, but what I'd like to do is encourage you to introduce yourself. And then if there's any kind of initiative that you're involved with, especially something that might provide a collaboration opportunity, I would love for you to share that. And I'll share at the end some ideas that either come up during or some ideas that I'm bringing to the table. Brian, you said you had to roll a little early, right? So can I get you to start off, Brian Costanzo?
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Charlene, good to see you. See a couple other friendly faces here. Pleasure. Build.org. We work in underestimated communities and really empowering our youth to be the CEOs of their own life through our entrepreneurship program. So pleasure to be here. Look forward to collaborating with us.
All right, super, thanks. And then I'll go sort of in order of people who came in. So Catherine Conan from Gianforte Family Foundation.
Yes, hi everybody. I have my video off because I am quite literally crossing the Continental Divide right now on Interstate 90. Not driving, riding, but I'm afraid the cell service will cut out. So hopefully you can hear me. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. I work for the Gianforte Family Foundation. We fund in Montana, and one of our focuses is entrepreneurship, particularly with youth. So that's why I'm on this call. main nonprofit that we've supported has been youth entrepreneurs based out of Wichita. We brought them to Montana and are trying to get them into all the schools that we can in the state because we like their curriculum, but we're always interested in learning about more programs. I know that the children's business fair is something that I first heard about years ago, even before we brought youth entrepreneurs here. So I'd love to learn more about that too, and just ways that we can help our young people have that entrepreneurial mindset and ideally want to stay in their communities after school and start businesses or work.
Thanks, Catherine. And just a little aside, many of you probably have heard of childrensbusinessfair.org. Really, really cool idea. I really love the leverage and the kind of low footprint or small footprint. I mean, it's very scalable because they can just share it and let a lot of people do their own thing. So definitely take a look at that, and you can talk to Deshaun or me about that. Just as some experience, but it's a good complement or supplement to what you guys are doing potentially. Steve Mariotti, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Frasier. Good to see everybody, and I really appreciated the list. I didn't know there were so many organizations. So I'm the founder of NIFTY, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, and this is my 41st year in our field, and I think we're stronger than we've ever been intellectually, and we have a very large overseas program. We're in, I think, 17 countries. I'm just the consultant now, so I work part-time, but I'm really flattered to be here today. And Frasier, great job putting this together.
And Steve, wrote the book, from my perspective, on youth entrepreneurship, the Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Starting and Running Your Business, and has been running, I guess, created NIFTY back in, I want to say 86, Steve?
Yeah, 87, and we started in 88, but thanks for that.
And has, programs all over, and, everybody here has a different flavor of how they serve young entrepreneurs. And I think it's really interesting, right? So like any good business, you have different niches and different ways of doing it. So definitely interested in connecting with everybody. Deshaun, could you introduce yourself?
Hello there, everyone. My name is Deshaun Robinson Chu. I am the founder of CEO Academy. We are headquartered in Virginia and have a physical presence also in Dallas, Texas. Our mission, our vision is to empower the CEO and every girl. And the way we do that is through our camps, classes, clubs, and programming partnerships. One of our largest partnerships is with local Girl Scout councils around the country. And so I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Frasier, for putting this together. I can't wait to hear what everyone is doing. And kudos, Steve, for leading the way.
That's awesome. Thanks, Deshaun. Julie, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Julie Wood. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I ran a youth entrepreneur camp at the University of Wisconsin-Madison for several years. And then now they don't do the camp. So I have a company called eSeedling. And Steve was definitely an inspiration. I had his book read back and forth many times to kind of come up with our program and stuff, and took ideas. And I work mainly with middle school and younger kids. And so we have camps. We have a full curriculum that actually is used in many schools now, and nonprofits use it a lot. And then I have a game called the Biz Ops Game. And the Biz Ops Game is a game where kids run their own business flying paper airplanes. So they have a paper airplane company. And with COVID, we now have a virtual version too, where they actually do helicopters, because it's kind of hard to watch them fly airplanes on the screen. So now we have helicopters. So we have two versions of that. But that's been a very popular item that people can add to their programs.
Thanks so much, Julie. It really was. I talked to Steve, I don't know, maybe that was like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And it's an amazing experience to be looking around the internet and seeing all of y'all and all the amazing organizations. And, there's they're national people, and then there are the local and regional people and international people. We have a couple international people here as well, but it's an amazing experience given, again, going back to Steve, what the world was probably like in 87 in the world of youth entrepreneurship. Maybe you had Junior Achievement, maybe DECA, maybe FBLA. But there's an incredible diversity of organizations out there. Ethan, can you and Mike introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'll start and Mike can follow. We live in Ithaca, New York, home of Cornell University. Sorry, Steve, I see you're promoting an alternate Ivy League university. But want to thank you for putting this together. Mike and I have been kind of launching an organization program in Ithaca with our volunteer time, very shoestring effort. And it's great to collaborate with anyone that's ahead of us and has ideas that can help supplement what we're doing. Essentially, Mike had an idea that was spurred on by a question from his own kids. Where can we take our lemonade stand beyond our driveway? And that got his wheels turning about holding a local festival for kids that have their own products and ideas. And then added in a training element where we had hosted a series of workshops in a incubator space in Ithaca, taught by, or where we expose them to local entrepreneurs that have had success. And they told their story to the students. And then we followed with a series of kind of worksheets and workshops on idea generation, business plan development, kid-friendly budgets, and then marketing or telling your story. And then this last year, we added in a program on financial literacy. Like, what do you do once you make some money? Or, what's next? And we had been offering that to all the schools, students through schools in Ithaca. And then we just received a grant this year to expand the program to underserved youth, especially people of color and students that may not have the support system, either financially or just at home, anyone to help guide them. So we're going to be running an after-school program as a pilot test through Community Center in Ithaca. And that's about where we are right now. We're 4 years into this, and like I said, we're doing it in our volunteer time. So we're trying to figure out how do we expand this and scale this to be something more sustainable. Mike?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And Frasier, great to see you.
Mike, there was one there. I think there's a Mike that runs this with me that's on the call.
Yeah, let's go with Mike. We'll go with Mike Massa, and then we'll go with Mike Caslin.
Great. Sorry about that. All right.
Now, I'm assuming Mike is on, actually. You know what? He may have popped on and then popped off.
Okay. Well, I kind of spoke for him anyway.
All right. Well, I'm gonna actually take that opportunity to introduce or have Mike Caslin introduce himself. Mike was the CEO at Nifty when I was there, and would have been the guy who fired me if I hadn't left prematurely. He would have fired me. But Mike, would you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hey, thanks, Frasier. And I don't know. I think you look at 35 years later, we're back. So I think it's all good. The journey is incredibly exciting and unpredictable. But it's wonderful to see you and to also meet everyone else on the call. Blessings to you all. I was an entrepreneur and joined with Steve Mariotti, founded Nifty. We thought could be a global idea with consequence, and 35 years later, about 2 million young people have learned the life-changing force of entrepreneurship. During that time, met a number of mentors at Babson and Harvard. Greg Dees, who was a professor and kind of the founder of social entrepreneurship movement, really got intrigued. I got intrigued by that. I taught at Babson for 14 years after retiring from Nifty. And then there were so many Babson and other students in college asking for help, which is weird because I was so focused for 20 years on high school students needing help that I thought the college students had it nailed, because all about high school was to get to college. And, we channel everybody into college, and then it's like, well, good luck. So we found that there were a lot of gaps in the higher ed journey, from innovation and research, never making it to curriculum, never making it to lifetime alumni service. When the students get out, who supports them? thought leadership and media and influence and capital access, and all about real. And so we developed a Global Center for Social Entrepreneurship Network. And that's really to promote 4P entrepreneurs for people, profit, planet, place. We're accredited in 5 campuses with our national pilot campus at Wheaton College in Norton, Massachusetts, funded by the Diana Davis Spencer Foundation. And we have been partners there for 7 years, and we're about to double in size to additional college campuses. So it's almost just like being back in high school, because the college professors are so overwhelmed and under-resourced that we're like a third-party catalyst and cheerleader and resource curriculum provider. So the other thing is, almost every meeting I have with colleges, they ask, boy, this is so cool that you're promoting social entrepreneurship and kind of self-determination. Do you think you could ever do something like that in high school? And so I said, yeah, there's a whole bunch of great people doing it. So it's a pleasure to see your leadership, Frasier. It's kind of, we are all committed, I think, to Victor Hugo's call, either our children will be wisps in the gloom or flames in the light. And for those who maybe are biblically inclined, certainly Psalm 72 was our driver for Nifty from a spiritual point of view, which talked about the offending, the afflicted, and crushing the oppressor. And in this world, the oppressor is financial, intellectual, spiritual, and material poverty. So it's a pleasure to really be connected with you all and to help raise up trees of righteousness in the future. We have to plant more to repair the ruined cities. That's Isaiah 61. And so we have students at GSEN literally from Istanbul to Boston to LA to New Delhi and Beijing. And it's really wonderful to see a whole global commitment of millennials to recognizing that the world needs to be improved and that they can do something about it. So it's nice to see the continuum. And then we get so many adults now asking for help. So it's like, no, I only work with high school and college kids. They're like, no, we want it. We need it too. So there is a lifetime of work here, folks. And I'm proud to see all of you.
Thanks so much, Mike. That's great. So let's see. Is Charlene? Charlene, could you introduce yourself, Charlene?
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm getting over a really bad cold. Happy to be here. My name is Charlene Vaca. I'm the CEO of BizWorld. We provide entrepreneurship education to elementary and middle school educators. So they can implement our curriculum in the classroom. We've been around since 1997. We were founded by venture capitalist Tim Draper. I heard a similar with Lemonade Day that his daughter wanted to know what he did all day. Like, can we show other kids this? So he actually brought it to her classroom. And then from there, it stemmed into a full-fledged curriculum. We now have, a 20-hour curriculum that can be implemented in any classroom by any educator in elementary and middle school. Our newest programming, after, 20 years in the space, we recognize that, we love instilling the entrepreneurial mindset in, youth in elementary and middle school, but there was a gap that when young entrepreneurs who were identifying that way and had a business idea or were starting a business wanted to get to the next stage, how do I actually launch this business? They were looking for more resources, and we had that through our network of amazing, entrepreneurs that were already connected to us. So we started our Young Entrepreneur Success Program. We're in our second year. We will actually accelerate young entrepreneurs who have a viable business idea. We take them through a 12-week accelerator. We have workshops. They have various mentorship opportunities. They get to pitch at the end. And we actually this year gave out $30,000 in seed funding to help these young entrepreneurs, either start up or scale their businesses. So I've been with the organization for 9 years. I was recently promoted to CEO. I love this space. I love seeing all these other faces that have been in the game for a long time. I'm really looking forward to finding more ways that we can collaborate and, lift our youth up. and work together.
Thanks, Charlene. And and we'll sort of go around the biz world and have Wakana introduce herself.
Yeah, Wakana is one of our partners in Japan. We have 10 international partners, so I'm really excited to see Wakana here. She's been doing great things.
Yeah. Well, thank you for inviting me to this meeting. I am in Japan right now. It's like midnight, almost 1 a.m. here. But really pleasure to meet you. As Charlene introduced Biz World, we have just launched our new program in April and started teaching the new course to middle school students. And now we'll be offering the same program to high school students and also as well as middle schools partnering up with the prefecture, hopefully from next year. Yep. So it's like entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship education is getting popular in Japan now. So it's a great time. It has been really unknown subject because the programming was the biggest, huge new learning subject for the middle school and elementary school students. But recently entrepreneurship is getting popular, and we think this is the right timing for Japanese students to start learning how to be entrepreneur. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Wakana. And just in the interest of, because we might run out of time, I want to throw out two ideas for people to percolate. One is, as I was researching different organizations, there was kind of different Google results I found, right? I would find organizations, and then I would find profiles of young entrepreneurs. And I'm sure all of you have, incredible entrepreneurs, either currently in your programs or have graduated from your programs, et cetera. And, who are very attractive, right, to media mentions and profiles and what have you. And I think that's really valuable. Obviously, it's really valuable for the organization, but it's also valuable because entrepreneurship is kind of contagious, right? You hear about one person doing something and you get inspired. And one thing I'd like to propose is maybe, and we'll follow up with this, some concept of showcasing y'all's entrepreneurs, like having almost like a speakers bureau of sorts or a profile of different entrepreneurs, because I think that can be part of your curriculum, right? Is here are entrepreneurs that Jacoby is working with, or that Wakana is working with, or that Deshaun is working with, or Dan is working with all around the country. You get benefit from amplifying and showing off the effect of your curriculum and the effect of your particular methodology. But I think we all get benefit up to and including the entrepreneurs from being seen and amplified more. And the truth of it is, it's very attractive to media, and reporters are fundamentally lazy. If we make it easier for them to connect with entrepreneurs, they will take your entrepreneurs and amplify their story. So Jacoby, I just name dropped you, so you can introduce yourself next.
Good morning, everybody. I am Jacoby Waters, the founder of Young Men of Distinction. Young Men of Distinction, we're a mentorship program. We mentor young men. Our motto is help to create generational wealth and empowerment. This year, we actually just entered into the world of youth entrepreneurship by hosting our very first Youth Entrepreneurship Summit, which we awarded 2 young people with $500 startup grants, plus mentorship throughout the year. And then next year, they're going to be featured as our star, our mentees for, just for them to tell their story of entering in the world of youth entrepreneurship. And we're currently working on the 2nd annual for next year's event.
And Jacoby, remind me, where are you located?
Oh, we're located in Florida.
Perfect. Thank you. Jeff Weber, my first interview. I was very excited, Jeff, that you took advantage of the do-it-yourself interviewer. Thank you.
Yeah, somebody had to break the ice, I guess. So I'm probably the oddball here. I'm a 4-time entrepreneur. My first company I sold in while back, 2006, and that prompted me to write a book called From Idea to Exit: The Entrepreneurial Journey, to really share my experience and number of things about entrepreneurship that I wanted to share with entrepreneurial dreamers, to steal a phrase, and particularly in the youth area, high school up to, say, college. Steve actually wrote a blurb. He probably doesn't even remember, but he wrote a blurb for my book, which I greatly appreciated. But that led me to being an adjunct faculty teaching entrepreneurship at the community college level, being a mentor at Nifty, DECA, a lot of startup incubator stuff in the Chicago area where I'm from with 1871, the state of Illinois small business as an advisor, and for a nonprofit fintech accelerator. I'm saying all this not to brag, but mostly just my interest in, sharing my experience with existing entrepreneurs and hopefully soon to be entrepreneurs. And I'm running a digital startup currently, which is what keeps me busy. So I'm here today because I have an interest in the space. I don't know where or if I fit in, but when I got the outreach from you, Frasier, I just wanted to see what was taking place. So that's why I'm here today.
Well, and Jeff, it's good that you describe yourself as an oddball, because it's interesting, right? What you represent is this experience and enthusiasm and passion, and your day job is making businesses work. And of course, a lot of these organizations are out there trying to connect the students with these resources. So I think that's a big challenge. I mean, I haven't been doing it for 20 years, but I expect that the organizations, that's a challenge. You have this enthusiasm, you have people who want to share and like to share. And if the only way we can take advantage of them is by having them write a check, that's not a really good use of their talent, right?
Right.
So I think that's something that we definitely have to explore is, how do you get people to share their gifts, right? So that's probably a conversation for another day, but I do appreciate you representing that world.
You bet.
Jesse, and now Jesse, are you and Michelle in the same organization? Do I remember that right?
No.
Okay, perfect.
We are Young Entrepreneur Institute in Northeast Ohio.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know
Jesse,
Michelle.
if you could introduce yourself, that's awesome.
Sure. Yeah. So Young Entrepreneur Institute has been around in Northeast Ohio for about 15 years. It's been almost 10 since I saw Steve Mariotti last. So good to see you. So we're also in a way an oddball because we're kind of a meta worker in the space. So I don't now at this point really connect with youth very much. I work really closely with content providers. We work with Nifty, we work with Lemonade Day, Venture Lab, Waggy Labs. So we have youth entrepreneurs or empowered. We're one of several grant recipients who are considered technical assistance providers at the state network level and after school by the Mott Foundation. So we're working with some of those organizations I just named on that work, but we're always looking for ways to really connect the dots. So meeting educators' needs and how, what are going to be their objectives to serve youth. And so what are the resources out there? And so we're working primarily in the United States and a lot in after school as well as the in-school environment. And then sort of separately but related, I just joined the board of Lemonade Day. So I have a long relationship with Lemonade Day. I used to be the city director here in Northeast Ohio. That title is still held within our organization, but someone else is leading it now. But so I have a lot of love for the collaborative environment and being able to see what we can all accomplish together.
Oh, that's great, Jesse. I'll look forward to talking to you more and talking to everybody more, but I don't, that concept of the meta working, supporting the workers, supporting the different organizations definitely resonates. Michelle and then Dan, I believe, are our finals. Michelle, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Michelle Jackson. I'm the founder and executive director of the iInvest competition. I started iInvest in 2015 after running and creating a similar competition for the state of Maryland called the Invest Maryland Challenge, where we would bring in companies from all over the world to pitch in Baltimore and give out well over $2 million in prizes and have this big finale with the governor, and it was all fantastic. So I moved to Pittsburgh, a military wife, left the state of Maryland where I wrote policy and created the program iInvest, focusing on teaching youth 13 to 19 years old. We're really not teaching them, but more of testing their business concepts. And so what I discovered in working in economic development for the state of Maryland, where there is so much technology because you have federal government and so many different agencies there, so much high tech, was that there was a gap. You know, even if we put people through incubators and accelerators, they come out, they don't have anywhere to go, they still need help. And I saw that to be a challenge with the youth. And so I started iInvest and recruited about 30 judges from all across the country, from companies like Google and Coca-Cola and Microsoft. And so we would put you through, it's all web-based, but they have a 6-month period of going through 3 rounds of scoring and training. And they get a lot of PR, a lot of profiles, different things like that written, and they get access to all of the mentors. And it has been very successful. 5 years, we've had companies to roll out, companies developed by 19-year-olds that have now been able to get millions of dollars in pre-seed funding. And so there's been a level of success there. We want to keep going. And right now we're recruiting 4 judges for the 2022 competition. We did not host in 2021, which I'm kind of sad to know we couldn't get to do that, because the kids really need their teachers and mentors to be around them. And they weren't in school in 2020, and it was a hard year to have a competition. So we're trying to gear up now for 2022. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and would love to continue to communicate and connect with everyone.
Thank you, Michelle. And to that point, hopefully everybody has gone to the site. I mean, you got here, right? So you went to the site and you can kind of see the who's who directory thing. I think everybody's, you know, when you click on it, you can see a person's email, and many of you answered the questions, the kind of networking questions. You know, really that's the goal. And Dan, I'm doing like a little pre before I get to you. Sorry. The goal is for us to kind of bring people to life, right? And see if we can surface some of these opportunities for people to work together. After Dan introduces himself, I'm going to throw out a couple of ideas, and then people can hang for as long as they want to hang. But that's from my perspective, the real goal is to find the collaboration, the leverage, the places where we can scale and accomplish a lot more without having to be fighting for limited resources or spending a lot of your time on things that are sort of off mission, right? It's a little bit off mission to do fundraising. You need it, but it's not really directly helping the kids at the time. So Dan, if you could introduce yourself and Futurepreneur.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to meet everyone here today. I represent Futurepreneur Canada. We are the only national not-for-profit in Canada that provides loans and mentors to young entrepreneurs. We have a 25-year history in Canada. We've supported approximately 15,000 entrepreneurs, and the support goes to the core purpose of launching a new business or acquiring a business. So succession planning qualifies as well. We're coast to coast to coast, so we operate in every province and territory in Canada, right in practically every part of the country. So we've quite a rich history and deep history. Our core program is a loan and a mentor. If you take a loan, if you qualify for a loan, you have to take a mentor, and vice versa. If you want a mentor, you have to qualify for a loan. And it's a package of, we've had a few instances where entrepreneurs haven't wanted mentors and they were disqualified for their funding. So it's a mitigation risk for both the entrepreneur, but also for us, as our loan capital is an evergreen fund that we recycle, and once it's repaid, it goes right back out to entrepreneurs to support them on their journey. That comes with wraparound services. We provide coaching for entrepreneurs to get ready, business plan support, cash flow support, ideation support as they ramp up to launch that business and qualify for the loan. And after they qualify and they go on their business journey, we have a few programs. We're working on building out more programs post-launch, but we do have some growth support for those who do want to grow their business. We're happy if they don't, but if they do, we have some support there, including and leading up to international trade opportunities. We're part of a few different international organizations to support entrepreneurs who desire to take their businesses global. We also have a few supplementary programs, if you will, that support entrepreneurs who have barriers. Our loan program is quite accessible as it is. It's not collateralized, and you don't have to have a track record. So where a commercial lender typically won't go, we will. But we also have some enhancements to support Black entrepreneurs, a Black entrepreneur startup program with lived experience and other programmatic support, including additional accessible support for credits and challenges. And we also have an Indigenous programming, so to support First Nations in Canada to ensure that they have lived support again, lived experience again, and other supports to ensure that they can make their entrepreneurial journey. And maybe the last thing I'll touch on is we're a collaborative organization. We're here to support entrepreneurs. We don't own them. So we work with a number of other organizations in the ecosystem across Canada to ensure that the entrepreneurs get the best support they can. So that's who we are and what we do.
Well, thanks, Dan. That's great. And one thing I will say, again, as I was looking at all these organizations, I couldn't help but wonder, I was looking at all these organizations focused on the same mission. I'm like, how is it that any kid out there has not been grabbed in and recruited and elevated and inspired, right? It's hard. I'm like, there's so many people out there that are in this space, and entrepreneurship is so leveraged, et cetera. So that's a question that I'll sort of pose, which is, I think about like eSeedling, and I think about Nifty, and I think about Biz World and the Children's Business Fair and Lemonade Day. I mean, there's a lot of content out there, and there's a lot of infrastructure out there to support young entrepreneurs. Is there something that we could do to really penetrate different communities and really help communities become irresistible to entrepreneurship? I mean, I think about it when I was a young kid running a business. I didn't have anybody coming after me the way a high school football coach would come after a young running back or something like that. Are there some things that we could be doing at that kind of, as Jesse described, that meta level to support the different organizations in really helping to make it that you can't walk down the street without getting somebody trying to recruit you into an entrepreneurship program or to help you start your business? And that's just sort of open. It's 12:08 right now. I'm mindful of that. People can drop off whenever they need to. But that's the thing I'm listening for, is what can we do to support and really proliferate this movement?
I'm happy to jump in. You touched on the question earlier about role models, and that's one area where we've tried to really promote different entrepreneurs and enhance their profile and show. You too can be an entrepreneur. They don't look different from you. So try and find entrepreneurs that represent different industries, different demographics, and ensure that we tell their story as best we can. And that's one way that ultimately we're not going to try and push somebody into entrepreneurship, but we want to motivate them to pursue it. And that's one area that we have worked towards.
So I think that's a really interesting point, Dan. So fundamentally, if we're getting people profiling young entrepreneurs and getting young entrepreneurs to see them as people who can share their experience, every time that happens, it's kind of like, we all live in this world where people are looking at YouTube videos or TikTok videos. It can be contagious, right? As you hear about Mr. Corey's cookies. I don't know how old Mr. Corey is now, but I found him on some newspaper profile, and he was 13 at the time, extraordinary little cute kid selling cookies. That can be gold in terms of sharing that around. And it's also a good attraction tool, right? Say, submit your stories of young entrepreneurs in your communities, whether they're East Seedling graduates or YEM Ithaca graduates, who cares? We just want more and more experiences that we can highlight and share. So that's a great point, Dan. Any other thoughts?
I love that. I also, sorry, I didn't want to.
Go on, Ethan.
Oh, that's fine.
Another area that I think would be ideal for this collaboration is, there are small organizations like ours that are very locally focused right now in Ithaca. And I sounds like there's a couple others on this call. And then there are national organizations or even global organizations on this call. And, we don't want to recreate the wheel. We're launching something from scratch here in Ithaca that's gotten a lot of quick attention, and there's like organic growth, and there's just such a great local community that's happening. But if there are ways that we can partner with larger organizations, either for curriculum support, or to be a part of a national organization that's trying to expand their reach into different regional areas, that would be a wonderful way for us to kind of, as a sort of a shoestring organization currently, a way for us to scale more quickly and to get students and mentors the exposure more quickly.
I think that's a great point, Ethan. I mean, everybody's on the ground somewhere, right?
Right.
And people are, Julie's created this amazing organization, and Michelle's created this amazing competition. Getting, fundamentally, if you create something of value, you want people to use it, right? You want people to celebrate it, and having people on the ground. And guess what, Ethan, you're probably 4 or however many years farther ahead than that organization that's not on this call in some community who's been like, I can't remember how long Jacoby said his organization has been around, but they're popping all over the place in kind of organic, just enthusiasm ways. So finding what ways for y'all to connect and to partner is great. I think Julie was next, and then Mike and Michelle.
Yeah, I just, the communities thing really hit with me when you said that, Frasier, because I think one of the things is if you can get the community involved and the entrepreneurs that are in that community, then you're creating the environment that it is irresistible for the kids. Like, they see the businesses that they visit every day, right? Or that their parents go to, and they're like, how did that get started? Curiosity. But if you can get like a chamber or an economic development organization involved in the program and kind of sponsor the program, or just have the space where you run it, then you're starting to build that irresistible community environment for the kids that are growing up there. So I think that's really important from that side that you mentioned about the communities.
And let me, before I turn it over to Mike, I one thought is that, fundamentally, everybody likes to talk about themselves, or most people like to talk about themselves, and every entrepreneur, small business owner will share their story. All that we really need is an interviewer, fundamentally. And your kids can be great for interviews because they get something out of it. The entrepreneur gets something out of it. The community gets something out of it. And then, like you said, it kind of builds that ecosystem, right? That we're trying to support. So one thought would be, let's leverage our kids in that way as well. We give them, I think about Steve hitting the Fortune 400 or Fortune 500 back in '86 to try to get funding for Nifty. He reached out to these guys, and one of them responded. Well, there's no reason that our kids couldn't make a list, like you're saying, Julie, of here are the businesses in our neighborhood. I mean, it's easier than ever with Zoom and doing those interviews, and that's great content for all of us to share on social and etc. Mike, and then Michelle.
Sure. Yes, Frasier, thank you. Yeah, I just want to share, working at the college level and certainly at the high school level in the full range over the last 30 years, and as a self-taught entrepreneur from a union family, the first thing that I think we need to do as a team, as a group, is to write a new social contract. I believe the existing social contract, or at least ones that some of us grew up with, was be good, do good in school, go to college, and someone will give you a job. That's over. Okay. And then also, be it the 70,000 factories that have disappeared since 1990, and the other consequences and challenges we face just looking at the supply lines of our tankers offshore. That's one aspect. The second aspect is in college, university students, which again, a lot of our programs are all about get to college, get to college. So let me tell you what's happening in college. In college, 70% of college students today report alienation and despair, depression. Significant findings from Skoll and Oxford University is a massive gap in action. There's a massive gap growing between idea to action. This fear to action gap is gigantic. When we teach at the college level, we're briefed that we're getting high school students that spend 10,000 hours in class and 10,000 hours on video games and social media. So there's a huge series of forces at the college level that need to be thought about. At the same time, I love the oddball. Maybe that will be our code name, because we're promoting entrepreneurship efforts at a time when according to the New York Federal Reserve, just even this week, 1,500 businesses a day continue to close, and 40% of businesses within the African American community are permanently closed in less than a year. So there's this significant series of riptides coming through our lives and our communities. The other aspect is, I think changing the social contract is, turning your passion into a job, turning your hobby into a job. Graduate and have a business from high school, graduate and have a business in college, get an offer in college and have your own gig, and know why. See, that's the other aspect of this generation, is many students don't have their why very clear. And so their willpower is not aligned and their way forward is uncertain. So we work a lot on that. And the other thing that's very, very overlaying everything is the force of UN development goals and sustainability in the planet. And if we're not aligning, and that's why we kind of have created an alignment around 4P impact, people, profit, planet, place, so that you get into this accountability and you get relevant to sustainable communities and UNDGs. So through this all, I think, any group of determined individuals can change the world. It's what I've spent my life, believing and doing. So it might be something where, Frasier, with your leadership, we look at what can we do in what I would call 7 months, 7 years, 7 generation. Like, what can we do in the next 7 months together where we have some traction? Over time, changing policy, changing funding, changing STEM to STEAM, including entrepreneurship there, getting, entrepreneurship as an AP course, all these little things that systemically can really change a focus of a child and a young person and even a college graduate. And then in 7 generations, we know that over time, this kind of family and personal wealth creation is something that accrues over time. It accretes. So we have to be patient with that long-term play. But I think increasing the rate I think the current rate, like our students are forming businesses at a rate about 10 per 100. The current rate on college campuses is like 0 to 0.2 per 100.
Yeah.
So unless you don't have the churn in college, you don't have the churn in high school, you don't have this dynamic activity. And then I think given our conversation is, where do we align all of our energies? The most haunting research I've found is Johns Hopkins Center for Talented Youth, which has identified dropout factories. There's 1,000 school districts in the United States, for example, that if any of us were born into it, we would have an 80% chance of never graduating. They're called dropout factory school districts. That is the killing field that so many young, talented people never have a chance. So going from here to bringing it down into a very focused agenda that aligns with a bunch of our efforts could be really exciting, and certainly happy to contribute in that.
No, that's great, Mike. I appreciate that kind of macro view as well, and obviously getting it micro is part of the challenge. But I think one of the things, and then we'll go to Michelle and Charlene. One thing that I'm excited about is this. If any of us had a community, and I mean, if we parachuted 100 entrepreneurs into any community in this country, there would be some remarkable things happening, right? Because entrepreneurs create things out of nothing, or they align resources, and there's incredible power there. And part of what I don't personally, this might be somebody else's mission, but I love the idea, and this is where I think Children's Business Fair is kind of a cool model, is they're very light footprint. They're like, here's a model that you can use and plant it in your community and grow it in your community, because top down requires alignment and committees and connection and all that stuff. And fundamentally, entrepreneurship is a very interesting but powerful force. And if we can sit there and say, what can we give to this community in Canada, or this community in LA, or this community in Chicago, and without massive funding and without massive coordination, and without massive anything, but a really incredible network of people supporting you and sharing resources, I think what we see would be an amazing result. It may not look like what any of us think it should look like from the top, but it would be, I think it would be pretty powerful. And there's no way to stop it. It's decentralized. And decentralization, I think, is very, very powerful. Michelle, you had a thought, I thought.
Yes, a couple of things. First, everything Mike said, but we'll start with that. That's one of my thoughts. But three things. One, something that I've learned from working with the kids in my program is that getting the parents involved is going to be key to this. When you have a parent at home who is supporting the youth, you're going to get a kid who will be a lot more committed to the process. And so educating our parents about entrepreneurship, how it works, demystifying it for them is going to be key. That's one piece to it. First, and secondly, allowing all of us to grab arms, okay? Instead of, we're not competing with one another. We need to be, they go through your program, come to mine. When they're done with mine, go to yours, really supporting each other so that there are these gaps are being shrunk down to nothing, because there becomes a lot of confusion once these youth who have great ideas come out of these programs and they're just stuck with, what do I do next? I don't have the money. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. So if we can create an allyship where we're all working together, I think will be very powerful. And so thirdly is the fact that when a youth is not exposed to entrepreneurship in their schools because they're from a marginalized community, we have to have a different approach with them, because they're so far behind. And so, whatever we do, as a group, I would love to make sure that we're not assuming that a kid coming out of a STEM school in Baltimore is the same as a kid coming out of a STEM school in New Orleans. Okay, just because that STEM title is there, the resources, the understanding of entrepreneurship, the environment that they're in. I live in New Orleans, so I'm speaking this, and I lived in Baltimore. I can tell you, it's totally different. And so we have to have almost a different approach to some of these kids coming out of different environments. They are very entrepreneurial, but they don't understand all the tactics and the techniques to get to a place where it's legitimate and where it can grow and scale. And so, the approach can't be holistic, one approach for everyone. You definitely have to take into consideration the region, the demographics, and just the understanding of entrepreneurship. And I'm going to throw this fourth one in, is just that I think that, with the workforce is shifting now because of COVID. I really, we're talking about the whole resignation piece. The workforce is shifting. I would love to see entrepreneurship be looked at as less of competition for those who are going to work a 9 to 5, and then something that is going to empower the employer. Because people who have entrepreneurial minds are good employees because they understand business. That's my theory on it. And so I think those are the types of things I would love to see us work on and maybe move forward. I'm going to drop off in a second, though. So thank you all for this opportunity.
Michelle, I think that was a really good point. And the first thing you said in terms of that kind of, the co-opetition or the cooperation versus competition. I mean, fundamentally, right, I think we all would be delighted with more kids getting connected with entrepreneurship. It probably, I'm guessing, I'm not in the world, but I'm guessing that the issue is, well, you know, I think one of our, we had somebody here from a foundation. I mean, you know, she's going to fund this, or she's going to fund this, or businesses are going to sponsor this or sponsor that. So we really need to focus on what are the things that can elevate all of our missions. And then we can, you know, compete in those different worlds. But fundamentally, presumably you would be delighted to have 100 million people know about the I Invest competition. You know, I mean, the more the merrier, right? And I'm sure CEO Academy, the more the merrier to connect with stuff. That's the fundamental challenge, is how do we get more people to connect with our stuff? If you do that, money tends to follow if you have people engaged with your programs. Charlene, I think we'll give you the last word. Oh, I'm sorry, Charlene, then Deshaun, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to save my voice here. So everything that Mike and Michelle said, I just want to echo that, you know, again, I'm new to the CEO role, but I've been with BizWorld 9 years. What I've seen being very valuable is the fact that we've always partnered with the classroom educator to deliver the curriculum to their community based on their community's needs, and providing the flexibility to reach their students where they're at, right? So I believe wholeheartedly, not only in the approach, as Michelle was saying, that, you know, depending on where you're at, you have different circumstances and different approaches, and our classroom educators are on the ground. And that's why we believe wholeheartedly, and we're not the direct service provider to the whole nation. Our teachers are. And I also want to continue to work together. And we've had, you know, we work with YEI, we've worked with Build, continue building relationships. And, you know, for any of the smaller organizations here that are looking for curriculum, I'm happy to discuss how, you know, we can make BizWorld available to your communities, how we can highlight some of the, like the, how you invest. I'm sorry, my mind is still really foggy. But, and the CEO, I would love to be able to just bring more awareness to all of our organizations. And the same here, where if you have young entrepreneurs who need some support and launching or scaling a business, we'd love to have them come join us at Yes. So I'm totally in here to build partnerships and see where we can strengthen each other. Just very core to what I believe is success. And that's what business is about, right? Is building relationships. That's what makes a successful entrepreneur in business. So I'm going to save my voice, but I'm happy to continue these conversations.
Charlene, one point, and then I'll turn the last word over to Deshaun. I think that what I'd like to do is to reach out to people and get, you know, a little bit more information, whether that's an interview or whether that's y'all just sort of sharing some answers to the questions, so that you can tour each other, right? You can explore each other, and really with that mindset of, you know, what would create a breakthrough for you with your mission, right? Because yes, it's not one size fits all. Certainly it's not one size fits all, right? We're entrepreneurs, for God's sakes. But the goal would be to have all as much diversity as is possible to support different people in different ways. But really looking for where are those opportunities that can help, you know, eSeedling, and help I Invest, and help BizWorld, and help it. And again, primarily it's about how do we penetrate the community that's never heard of us? You know, how do we get market share, right? If we were entrepreneurs trying to sell donuts in a certain area, we'd be thinking about how do we get people to buy our donuts? And that's fundamentally what we're doing. How can we expand that market share? And Deshaun, you want to finish this off, and then we can go have lunch?
So what always comes back to me, and something that I've been challenged with, is messaging. And maybe Steve can't, because of time, not chime in right now, but I'm the former director of the Women's Business Center of Northern Virginia, and I worked with hundreds of women to start businesses. And prior to that, I thought I was a unicorn and wanted to start businesses. And then the women came in and talked about all of their challenges, and all of that really got me excited about CEO Academy. And then as I talked to parents, being a parent of 3 girls myself, The question is, how are they going to get a job? Is this a career option? And so I felt myself convincing parents that entrepreneurship is an actual career. And so I feel like we're overcoming. I know a lot of my partners here in the Metro DC area have STEM programs. And I feel like I'm always overcoming the STEM objection, that that's more valuable than entrepreneurship. And my response to them is always, well, if your child creates the robot, who's going to own it and sell it? And so I feel like there's a partnership opportunity, but there's also an objection that we have to overcome. And that's how I feel I'm doing all the time, is trying to overcome the objections of parents having 3 girls of my own, only one of which who wants to own a business.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting on the ground experience, right? Is that people want to fit in. I mean, think about you're not talking to Elon Musk. You know, you're talking to parents who probably don't own businesses, who were very successful in school, and who just want, you know, a little plaudit for their kids, right? They want to get something to get them into the Princeton or wherever. So that's a really interesting point. Steve, do you have any thoughts on that? But that's, I think, regardless of whether Steve provides the magic bullet in the next 40 seconds, Deshaun, I think that would be a fantastic discussion to have throughout the entire country and outside of it, to say, how do we make it where, because we know, as Mike said, this is one of the ways that you put people in the driver's seat in their own lives, right? Is that you're not auditioning for somebody else to choose you and say that you have worth. You're creating your own experience. So that's a great way to break through that depression and anxiety. Steve, and then I think I have to go as well. Go on. I'll leave it open for you guys though. Steve, do you have any thoughts on what Deshaun was asking? So you're on mute. Are you going to sign it? This might be beyond Steve. Oh, here we go.
This is a secret joke behind that, right, Fraser? I really enjoyed this. I learned so much. My head is spinning. I want to say hello to everybody. My only thought, I'll just leave you with this, is it helped me a lot when I had the thought that you're always in business for yourself. I was out in Wichita, and I think it was Charles Koch who said that to me in just a passing conversation. And I never thought of it like that, and that freed me from thinking worker, non-worker. I don't know if that's helpful, but it's been something that has changed my perspectives on things. I hope I didn't take us in the wrong direction.
Steve, I'm going to tell you from my perspective, I think that's an incredibly valuable insight. There used to be a term, I don't know if I haven't heard it for about 15 years, but the entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And so I think that and especially Michelle, I think Michelle was talking about it. Certainly Mike was talking about this world where you don't know what the world's going to look like in a year in terms of employment and gig economy and, all that kind of stuff. So the idea that says you're the CEO, and I think Deshaun, obviously your business is based on that, and Brian was talking about that with build.org. You are a CEO whether you want to be or not, right? You're a CEO in your own life, and if you're not a CEO in your own life, then somebody else is. Then you're just hoping things work out. So I think that might be a really good insight, Deshaun. What did you think about that? I mean, do you think that would be a good way to kind of say with STEM, you still have to be in charge of your own life?
We have a program called Employer versus Employee, and we seem to have the biggest aha moments with the kids and the parents when we have that discussion, and that there are many opportunities, many choices, and that unfortunately, and I hate to say this as a person from a family of school teachers, the school doesn't always address those options as the breadth of them that we offer in our enrichment programs. And so I agree, Steve, that whole idea of you're still in charge of yourself. There are all these options, employer versus employee. The conversations aren't being had at K-12.
Right. Mike, Mike, I want you to finish us off, but I have to leave. But one other thing, now I'm not going to close the thing, but I want to say something about Mike Caslin before I leave. Mike, you look good. Okay. I haven't seen you for 20 years. You look exactly the same as far as I'm concerned. That's impressive. All right, guys, it was great. It was great connecting with everybody. I'm going to let Mike finish us off and stay as long as you'd like to stay, but I'll follow up with everybody via email. This was fantastic. It was a little bit of a dream of mine. Steve, thanks so much for your support. And Mike, as I mentioned, thank you for being my first RSVP.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, way to go, Frasier. Thank you, and a round of applause to you. But, Deshaun, one of the things we're seeing at the university level is there's a heightened awareness around intersectionality and social and economic justice. A lot of conversation about that. And I think you can take that and you can say, okay, we needed to talk 50 years ago about race, class, gender. Let's just say, yes, we did. But now what do we need to do? And what we do is we talk about an impact CEO mindset, an owner mindset, a creator mindset. And so, we're saying we're giving respect to the intersectionality issue, and we're also helping to define the next generation of it. The other aspect, when you talk about social and economic justice, I think it really hits home. Who owns the multiplier of the value created? It's not just a paycheck. It's that multiplier. And then from the social justice, it's who's creating opportunity. Steve and I have been in meetings with billionaires who wanted to help Nifty and did. And they're like, it's really cute you guys are doing that, but honestly, we don't really need more owners. We need more workers.
Who will do the work?
And it's bipartisan. So it's not like, that's another bizarre experience. This is a bipartisan elite opinion. And having done business around the world and in China, in China, the communism may be, quote, utopian, but you can't get into the club of the leadership unless you go to one of two universities, period. You're just not in a club. So it's the most, communist China is the most elite country club in the world at the leadership level. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's something that I think you can leverage. And then when all is said and done, this kind of means and ends, the STEM is going where? STEM is going where? And we talk and work on that all the time. So happy to be having conversations with all of you. And it's really a blessing to meet you all and to see old friends again. Blessings. I'm looking forward to getting together.
Thanks, everybody. You all have a good day. I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you, everyone.